eggs are produced by the breeders. Breeding stacks. So once we produce, or once a farm produces a fertile eggs, or so-called egg, we need to do the incubation. So incubation is the process wherein the embryo inside the egg will develop. We call that, it is termed as development. So every poultry species has its specific period of incubation. This is equivalent to the gestation period of large animals. For poultry, we have here the incubation. So incubation is the process of setting the eggs in an incubator. Well, there are two types also of incubation. We have the artificial incubation and the incubation. So when we say process of setting the egg in an incubator, so that is artificial method, or that while under the hen, in order to hatch, we have that natural incubation. Now we have to remember this one. Dili kay method ang gamit mausab now. Regardless of the view, the period remains the same. So it is given to eggs will hatch after 20 in the incubator. And it is the same with, and then so dili kay mulafog di uno ka adlaw. So in order for you to check na ang imuhang eggs are na this incubator is fertile in the earlier period, we have to do candling. So later on we will discuss about this candling. So remember that the period of incubation, regardless of method used, the period. So the following are the important parameters, especially in the incubation period, to hatch and transfer the hatchery. So in large hatcheries, mga class na sa itawag set na sila itawag. So the incubation period, hatch time, and when to transfer to hatchery. It's humidity levels for common birds. So these are the important parameters. So sooner you're conducting your thesis study, you can have this as your basis. You can have this as your benchmark for your data. Magamit ug unsa man kang gusto ninyo nga mga studies. So for chicken, we have 21 days. For mother, we have 20 days. Duck, Dominoes, 30 days. Guinea, 8 days. And the tail, 23 days. And for Japanese food, that range 16 to 18 days. This period of incubation remains the same. So this other information we have there, they needed or the specified temperature with in a specific given time, and the percent relative humidity, because if the humidity is too high, it will have a negative effect to your eggs. If the humidity is too low, it will have an effect to the eggs in the incubator. So we'll talk about further with the effects of this low and high relatively and this is to the quality of the eggs and all to the chicks. So based on the number of days incubation period, so kung natin ang imong movement sa imong incubation kay itong letter lang so after 18 days ang imong server na yung ibakante, then you have to transfer your eggs to the hatcher. So naman po yung incubator nga pag set ni mo antod na mapusa para siya dito. So in larger scale na gina siya specific. So after 18 days for chicken na jud na nila hatcher para mo mo pip, no? Padulong na mo hatch ang eggs at 18 days. So relatively still provided in so in detail this. So another also for swan, turkey, emo, ostrich, and rhea. So these are other not significantly or economically important trees, no, like rhea and emo, but still it is included in this data. So now hatchery, the overview of how the incubation process of poultry eggs. So the efficiency of incubating and hatching eggs depend largely on the hatchery design and equipment used. A hatchery should adapt the principle of one direction workflow. So like for example, egg receiving room through egg traying, incubation, hatching, and holding rooms for the chick, to the load until to the loading area. So I have here the diagram, and I have here examples of how a hatchery works. So, like for example, hatchery layout showing the flow from eggs to chicks. So you have there fumigation. It is very important, no? In large hatcheries, it is like fumigation is just a way of disinfecting the eggs prior to setting this to the incubator, because it is important to disinfect also the eggs, especially if it comes from different places. It might carry pathogens that can contaminate the incubator, or yes, in the whole hatchery or in the whole farm. So once the eggs are already disinfected, done ng disinfection, it will undergo for like a short stage, short period of egg storage, because dili man na pasabot na ang imuhang eggs na abot na sa hatchery diretsog butang sa incubator. You have to let the egg set a period like 8 hours to 12 hours, because it is to prevent temperature shock or thermal shock. So once the eggs are already stored for a period like og sa ato pa nakaginhawa na ang eggs, naka-relax na ang eggs, then you have to set that into the incubator. And then you are going to wait based on the information provided kanina nga moabot mo stay siya sa gitawag na to og setter. So once moabot na siya like 18 days, ibutang na to na siya sa hatcher. Okay? Ibutang na sa hatcher, and it's still mo undergo pa na siya og other na mga process in order to really control or in order to maintain the quality of the output. So the final one is in the sa Ansc hatchery, chick grading prior to distribution. So that's it, no? Muna ang flow sa hatchery, dinagkuay nga hatchery. So like for example, mag-OJT mo og hatchery farm, you will experience all these steps. You have to be familiar with this because it is a must. No? Dapat aware na mo ug unsa man ang kalihukan aning enterprise para di igabot good po hinoon nato sa farm, i-orient man ta, but it is still important, no? It is very much important that you have to familiarize this principle for you to have, ma-develop na lang ang inyong mga manipulative skills when you do practical works. So, naka-learn na, execute na mo. So now, as I have said earlier, we have two kinds of incubation: the natural incubation and the using of incubator or the artificial incubation. So artificial incubators are available in various sizes and capacities. So nowadays, or bisan karon, we can make our own incubator, the do-it-your-own incubator. So kabaw tanag unsaon nato pag-set up, o nalang tayong mga gamit na maka-measure sa mga important parameters inside the incubator, then that's good. So next, okay, this is how a big hatchery looks like. Okay, in 5 minutes. Bumag pa ko? Okay, ra discussion, so what? May pangata? If you have something last, then this last questions. Okay, ko. Guys,
Sir.
sige ato ni
Yes, sir.
Okay, so mga types of incubators. So, for example, you have an established hatchery farm. So, dinaghanay ang volume, dinagkoy ang volume sa inyong production, then ano yung mga purma sa mga high-tech incubators. So, basic information for artificial incubation, that should be all in, all out. Meaning to say, if you set a batch of egg in this day, dapat kana siya nga day, ang maximum capacity sa incubator mao nay imong ibutang. Nakuha? Maximum capacity sa incubator ang imong ibutang. Nganuman, kay kung nagkaog egg nya dili kompleto or dili naabot ang maximum capacity sa imong incubator, then ug dinaghanay dinagkuay na siya, alkansi ka. No? So, di po na siya ingon, excuse for a while kay naabot ako ang gipamalihog. So here, no, as I have said, dapat ang imong incubator all in, all out. So, kung nagbutang kag eggs karon, nagkag egg, sa radyo na siya kabarala, ratli kay karon ka nagbutang, dili siya synchronize or dili dungan ang iyang pagkapiso sa imong eggs. Di magdungan og pusa na ang batch na una. So ang katong batch nga nauna mao imong una og kapiso. So ang mga down feathers downy feathers sa mga chicks mo pilit na ngadto sa incubator, mo pilit na sa imong mga eggs. And then moto ang egg is makontaminate. Why? Because ang mga feathers is mo suksok siya sa pores. You have to remember that an egg is composed or is an egg, no? A normal egg is having 7,000 pores, no? Ana dira nagitawag nato naginhawa ang ato ang developing embryo. So once nga dili usa ka batch ang imuhang gibutang sa incubator, nag-ulos-ulhos, then high chance na low ang hatchability rate, imbes taas to fertility rate ang imuhang eggs, pero ang hatchability rate nimubo because of the risk of contamination. So you have to observe all in, all out. So, paano na kay broiler chicken? Kung na kay broiler chicken in a broiler farm, you have to practice all in, all out. Dili kay karon ka nagsulod og 1,000 ang capacity sa mong building kay 5,000. 1,000 ra imong gisulod. Ya, sunod na pod adlaw 1,000 ya. May tato imong building is tagsa-tagsa. No? Katong sa ka-building 1,000, okay ra to siya kay pwede man ka mag-multi batch ang ibuhi, no? So, dili na siya practical. So, dapat all in, all out. Para na sa pag-incubate. And then incubate the same poultry species in one incubator. Do not mix different species at one time. So you have to go back to the principle of the length or the period of incubation. No? Balikan to nimo ang length sa iyang incubation period. Ang manok, 21 days. Ang Muscovy duck, 28 days. Mallard duck, 28 days. Muscovy, 35 days. So, balikan to nimo. So, do not incubate the same poultry species, no? Do not incubate eggs of different poultry species. You have to incubate the same poultry species in one incubator. Kay lagi kung imo na i-mix, lahi-lahi og requirement ang atuang eggs. So go back ka sa table. Ang iyahang requirement sa humidity, no, nag-vary. So with that, humidity pa lang daan. So ang humidity nga kinahanglanon sa mother duck is 62, no, at most 62%. Nya ang sa gulan nimo og quail nga mo piso siya, bahala og the same siya og humidity, pero earlier man mapiso ang quail. So dili gyapon. So you have to practice the same species, no? The same species at a time. So in one incubator. Okay. Parehara na to, lahi-lahi o requirement, no? Lahi-lahi ta og mga requirement. So now, in artificial incubation, no, this is the advantage over natural hatching. So, or natural incubation. The artificial incubation, no, offers volume of eggs to be hatched at a time, or more eggs can be hatched at a time. Can hatch eggs at any time of the year, and has a better control of environmental conditions. So, yes, daghan ang ma-set at a time, any time of the year. Di ka magpaabot na ang imuhang manok mohunong siya og itlog kay magluob na, maglumlom, no? And you have also to take note that ang ato ang mga manok na uban dili sitter. Ibutang lang na panayog sa dito dam. Ay, pwede ra pod, open man to. Thank you, Clyde. So, that's it. Artificial incubation is advantageous over natural hatching. Only that, kung ari ka sa artificial incubation, magastuan ka jud ka, no? So, win-win ra gud siya, win-win situation kay migasto ka daghan man pug ka og ma-produce kaysa natural hatching. So, in natural hatching, like for example, a hen, no? Sakto lang ang gidakon sa hen, so pwede siya muloob og 10 to 12 eggs. Depende sa size sa hen. Kay kung ang imuhang hen is pareha kadako og bantam, nya palubluban nimo kay do 15 ka buk itlog, don't tell na sa tanan, no, dito siya mapiso tanan. Ang na-cover lang sa body sa hen, mura to ang naay chance na mapiso, no? So, let's proceed. Heat source. Okay, in an incubator, labi na mga small incubators, ang atong gamit is kani, the source of the provision of necessary incubation temperature varies in different incubators. So, electricity is the most common source of heat. And incandescent bulbs are used in small box type incubators. So kung mag-do-it-your-own incubators ta, pwede ta mo gamit aning mga incandescent bulbs. Ato na i-set up. So from the kuan nga magamit ang incandescent bulb, so we need electricity. So again, electricity is the most common source of heat, especially in small incubators, or not just in small incubators, but in large incubators also. I have watched a video from Zamboanga, or that is from Surigao, that ang iyahang incubator is powered or is solar powered yung incubator. Solar energy yung gamit. So nice to siya. It is a free range poultry farm. So important note, kani, in case of brownout, do not open the incubator. No, do not open the incubator. Eggs will still be good until 24 hours. Ang eggs are still good after 24 hours. So, ang imo incubator dili na nimo i-open every every hour, every day. Mag-set ra ka in first na days mag-open ka katulo buntag ug hapon kay you have to turn the egg, especially kung manual incubator. Artificial incubator nga that is automatic, no need for you to do turn eggs. No need na mag-open ka sa imuhang incubator every day. Only that, imong i-check na lang ang kung naay water dito nga moisture sa as humidifier, no? Then mo to mo i-check. Magbutang ka og water or not. So remember this one, in case of brownout, do not open the incubator. Eggs will still be good until 24 hours. So the relative humidity should be set at least 55 to 60%. If the incubator uses passive humidity control system, add water to the pan or throw daily to maintain correct humidity levels. So insufficient humidity causes the air cell to be too large at the time of hatching. So the contents of the egg be too viscous, no? And the membranes to be too tough to break. The navel is not closed properly. So na mga unhealed navels, mo na marisulta kung there is insufficient humidity. So like for example, below 52% humidity or 54% humidity, it is lower than those values is insufficient. So kung that is oversupplied na po, that will affect development of the chicks inside the egg. So we will further discuss that later on. Napanas ako mga sunod na mga slides. The effects of high humidity or oversupplied ang iyang humidity, relative humidity, and too low. So excess humidity. Okay. Too little water to evaporate from the egg. So kay ang atong egg mura man siya gaginhawa. So you have to remember ang egg is composed of like liquid material. So too little water to evaporate from the egg. So kung like for example, basa ra kayo ang hangin sulod sa incubator, no? The air cell to be too small for the chick to reach during hatching process. The chick to be drowned or to be swollen with water to turn in the egg. And the yolk sac to be too large for the navel to heal. So insufficient humidity, air cell to be too large at the time of hatching. In times kung excess ang humidity, the air cell will be too small. So insufficient humidity meaning na ugara kaayo ang sud sa incubator. So meaning paspas ang pag-evaporate sa water. Mao na nga dako kayo ang kuan sa air cell. Gagmay ang chicks. Once pod excess humidity, too little water to evaporate. Dako kaadso ang ato ang chicks na ma-produce ana pero luya. Okay? So both extremes, sobraan kadagha kataas or sobraan kamba, no? Detrimental sa imuhang production. So humidity control, proper humidity control, the rate at which eggs lose moisture. So using hygrometer. So moisture is provided by a pan of water under the egg tray, especially in small small incubators. But also in larger incubators, na po yung pan of water. So next, add warm water to the pan if more humidity is needed. Increase the size of the pan or add a wet sponge. Humidity adjustment can also be made by increasing or decreasing ventilation. So, pinaka mga importanteng factors: temperature, humidity, and ventilation. Next, humidity and air cell. So, the air cell has enlarged to the point where the chick can reach his beak through membrane wall, allowing it to breathe before it peeps through the shell. So, the process na kanang murag mo liki na ang eggs, no, that is peeping, no, like kung mani ang egg na makita nimo dapit sa air cell area nga niliki na siya dara, nagpeep na nagsugod, peeping. So kung arita sa galliformes, no, beak, ug adto ta sa anseriformes ang iyang bill. Okay, so it allows the chicks to breathe, and before it peeps through the shell, after which it will zip around the shell. So mura na siya naiuban na hulma kaayo pagka gawa sa ilahang shell. So meaning to say, there is this well-balanced environment. May naman tag artificial incubation, we control the environment, no? Like unlike sa chicken nga dependent ug unsa may kuan sa iyahang palibot. So this one, no? This is an example of an chick, no, doing or on the process of peeping. So maliki, no, maliki na sugod. So, dapit sa iya. Mo na nga kung ang imuhang incubator mo nay porma, mo na incubator nimo. So ang imong eggs naka-tip down, tip down, butt up. Okay? So, sa butt man niya, or sa butt, or kanang flat nga area, ito nga, mura siya flat na area, mo na dara ang air cell or air sac. Dara dapat na ito makita. Mo na nga, dapat na mag-set egg sa incubator, dapat tip down, butt up. So, requirements for artificial incubation, as I have discussed earlier, no? Temperature, humidity, ventilation, and also the position of the eggs. So ventilation, manata sa humidity, ventilation, essential to remove carbon dioxide produced by the developing embryos and for supplying fresh air containing normal quantity of oxygen. So you have to take note that ang developing embryo is, breathing. So it is essential na ma-remove ang carbon dioxide with inside the incubator. So a proper or a good ventilator should be established, should be installed, especially when you do your homemade incubator. Well, if you purchase incubators from companies, no, the mga kompleto naman na siya, complete package naman. So the amount of air exchange needed increases as the embryo develops. So after 24 hours, ang eggs, no, ang embryo inside the eggs nag-start na nag-develop. Na unsa man kaya nga part sa egg ang mauna og ka-develop? Or sa embryo ang mauna og ka-develop? Is it the brain? Is it the heart? No? I bet nana sa inyong Ansci 21 nga laboratory activity or sa 22 ninyong laboratory activity. Well, I'll be discussing that later on. So too low ventilation, no, prevent normal moisture evaporation and can cause large weak chicks or even death of the embryo. High rates remove too much moisture, no? Kung sobraan ra pod ka ng ventilation, removes too much moisture and can cause the shell to stick to the chick, making hatching difficult. Una nga makakita mo usahay og kanang chicks nga nipilit sa iyang shell. Nga wa siya nakagawas og tarong sa iyang shell. It is because it can be relate, no, so atong gitawag og high ventilation or too much ventilation, no, kay paspas ang moisture, no, paspas ang iyang moisture release, no, or tawag na to paspas ang iyang water evaporation. So important activities during incubation. So turning, then candling. So turning, no, manual or automatic. So the egg should be turned 3 to 4 times a day. No? Ang manual incubator, mag-turn na siya, kay nakaprogram na ang automatic. Ang manual incubator rather, mo na nga imong i-turn, no? Ilahugay nimo 3 to 4 times a day. That is in the first 7 days. No? First 7 days, 3 to 4 times a day. Na above 7 days, pwede na like 2 times a day. No? Nga padulong na siya mapiso, o ang imong pagpahatch ana ay ang dili na nimo i-turn. No, i-turn. So candling, using a candler. Candling can be done on the 7th and 14th day of incubation. So a week after setting the egg in the incubator, you can do candling. No, this is to eliminate clears. So at this period, 7th day, makita nato ang mga eggs na gitawag nito clears, walay ni develop na embryo. Okay? So clears ang tawag sa mga eggs na walay na develop na embryo. On the succeeding week, no, on the 14th day of the incubation period, especially for chicken, you can perform the candling method, because it allows you to cull those died embryo. So na may mga died, na may nangamatay na mga embryo during that period. So naman jud dili man gid na mo mulahutay ang imuhang gi-incubate tanan. Di man na tanan mapiso. So naa pa nay mga naa pa nay gitawag nato na mga dead embryo. So on 14th day, makuhaan to nimo, ma-trim down to nimo. Now, in computing the fertility rate, no, like for example, nag-set ka og 100 eggs. At first candling, nara kay tulo ka clears. So 93 over 100. So meaning to say, out of 100 eggs, na kay 93 fertile eggs. No? So, fertile eggs to nimo. So, on the 14th candling, day of candling, naakay gitawag o 10. No? 10 ka died embryo. So, imo gihapon tong ibutang dito sa imuhang data nga nakay pag candle nimo at that period na ay namatay or na kay nakita na wala na further develop ang embryo. So out of 93, 10, 83 na lang or 97 mo tong giingon or 93. So may tag 97 at first candling na kay 97% BI. So at 14th day naipatay na pulo. So, nakay gitawag na to o 87 ka eggs. No? Mo to imuhang expect nga ma-hatch tanan. So, along that period, no, within the period, no, 14th to 21st day, napadjud na siya dili mapiso, no, dili madayon o kapiso, especially kung there is poor management in the ventilation and relative humidity. Well, mo na siya marisulta. So, ang katong napiso nimo, like, naalang kay napiso nga 70 kabuok out from that 87 remaining eggs. So, katong 70 kabuok nimo nga napiso, mao to imong i-count sa imong hatchability rate. Okay? Lahi na siya ang fertility rate o ang hatchability rate. Ang fertility rate, katong mga eggs nga na-develop or nakita nimo nga fertile. But ang hatchability rate, katunang na-hatch di siya. Mo to ang imong final data. So now, so much for that. Kay ni gobian ko sa ako ang slide no nga just candling na topic. So candling is done on 7th and 14th day of incubation for chicken, and then you can still perform candling at the 21st day in ducks, turkeys, because beyond 21 days ang ilang incubation period. So hens can turn her eggs 96 times a day by shifting her body and her beak to change the position of the egg. So nadyo instinct ang ato ang mga manok, no, especially hens. Mo na ilang mga gitawag parts ilang gitawag og mother instinct, no, motherly instinct nga they can determine asa nga part sa egg or asa ang egg na wala niya na turn in that day. You have to remember that a hen can turn the eggs 96 times a day. So the base of the hen's feet can feel the eggs when it is already time to turn her eggs. So that's it. Mga basic information. Turning, the importance of turning. It is essential to do turning during the first week and should be continued until 3 days prior to expected hatch day. So no need when eggs are in the hatcher. If not turned frequently at the early stages, embryo touches the inner shell membrane and sticks to it. So not only ventilation reason no nga nagstick ang chick ngadto sa iyang shell, but also poop. So turning of the eggs is very important para malikayan yung mga problems. So for manual churning, you can use non-toxic marker to mark the eggs with an X, no, on the other side and O on the other side also. So when you are turning them, you can make sure that they all got turned or they all got turned. So like for example, karong buntag X tanan ang nakabutang. So ikahapon o na pod ang magpababaw, meaning to say na turn na siya. Kaya kung pagbuntag X siya nga pagkahapon pagkaudto X yapon siya, meaning to say wala na siya na turn. So you have to remember that in manual incubator you can perform 3 to 4 times a day turning. You have to really consider the consequences if you do poor with these activities. So positioning of the eggs, no? In the disoriented position, the chick is likely to drown on peeping. So motto nga butt up, tip down. Important that the large end of the egg should be slightly higher than the small eggs, or as they would lie naturally on a flat surface. Now, in manual incubator rather, so ang egg is higda na siya, lie down naturally. So moto nga imong bantayan ang iyahang mark. While in an artificial incubator nga porma na siya daan, like murang naay uban nga mga artificial incubator na day automatic, ang iyahang butanganan sa egg is murag egg tray, so mag-move naman na siya in a given period. Kaya naka-program naman na. So positioning of the egg is also important. Selection of eggs before hatching. So from well-developed stocks, mature and healthy stocks, undisturbed during mating, and then fed with breeder diet, not inbreed, and a mating ratio of 10 to 15. No? One male is to 10 to 15 female. But there are research that suggested that the effective na mating ratio is just 1:10 or maximum 1:10. No, para ma-maintain ang quality sa imong hatching eggs. So you have to consider the source of your hatching eggs before you do incubation. So size of egg and weight of eggs. So size of eggs varies, no? With lines or even breeds. So average size eggs hatch better than larger eggs, or smaller eggs, or from the flat average. Avoid excessively large or small eggs. Follow guidelines for the weight of the egg breed. So also kung magpili ta og eggs na atong ibutang sa atong incubator, dapat mga standard sizes, dapat uniform ang size. It will also help you maximize the capacity of your incubator. The carrying capacity of the area. No, the number of eggs na ma-hold incubator is affected when you are setting ununiform eggs. So it is very important, and you have to remember that it varies from breeds. No, varies with lines or breeds of poultry. So shell thickness. So by the way, I'll be conducting egg analysis for quails and chicken and duck, no? For quail, chicken, and duck, and then you will just answer the guide questions, mag-record ako, and then ako nihatag nimo. These are the important parameters actually in egg evaluation. So shell thickness. Shell thickness is very important. Now, shells hatch better. Okay, kung ang mga thin-shelled eggs, ang iyang breaking strength is, too low. No? Maba kayo, so pinky ana dito, dali na maliki, and then kanang mga eggs na dali na maliki, dali na sila na ma-contaminate. So, like for example, with this, avoid eggs with cracked or thin shells. These eggs have difficulty retaining moisture, need the penetration of disease organisms, increase in cracked eggs. Shell thickness is highly irritable, thus should be selected. So this is not just about genetics, but it is also influenced sa imuhang feeding management and also the age of the hens. Shell thickness is not just tungod sa iyang genetics, but it is really influenced also sa imong feeding management and also sa age sa manok. Though it is a given na nadyo yung mga breeds na thin shells ang ilang ma-produce sa ilang eggs, but pwede na nato ma-enhance, ma-supplementuhan man na nato when tagaan na ito karong nga pagkaon, especially breeder diet, possibly high in calcium. So that's it. So napoy niingon doon ay mga kuan na it is hard to correct now the quality of this specific output if it is based on the genetic influence. No, okay, mao naman gid na ang ila. But we can correct that with by providing feeding management and consider the age of the animals. So if na breed na is produce, you have to select, you have to determine what specific time or period sa iyang laying season ang next. So, sa ang katubang pinaka bago siya nagsugod og itlog or naa siya sa iyang mid-life production or adto na ka sa iyang late life production. So all those things are needed, no, na i-consider. So soft-shelled eggs. So soft-shelled eggs are, di ka dyan na siya fit, no? Unfit dyan na siya for incubation. Do not select those soft-shelled eggs. Dili ka maputi na lang ng kalimutan ni mo pinaabot sa sa piso, dili na sila mapiso. No? Pro na sila nga magdala contamination sa imuhang incubator. You must give it a try. So layan ninyo yung incubator, papusa ng soft-shell eggs kung nabay mapusa ba na. And then, so is discouraged or not really recommended. So shape of eggs, so na yung mga round eggs and two shapen. So not incubate these eggs like two round or two oblong. Egg shape is highly heritable also. So round eggs, difficult to find the butt where the air cell is located. Especially when you are using artificial incubator na automatic, so maglisod ka pangita sa tip o sa butt. No? Kay blunt, muram siya blunt. Di mo may katong pointed niya. So now, okay, those misshapen eggs. Are you still there, guys? Napa mo? Naminaw pa man ako? Okay.
Sir.
Pila naman lang ni kabok ko mga estudyante. Naghan, mayo, managhan. So I hope you are listening. So this one, these are examples of misshapen eggs. So during the egg formation, which will be discussed in a video, during this formation na ay mga abnormalities na nahitabo or stress or tungod kay gulang na kaayo ang imong hens. So do not incubate eggs like this. Clean eggs. Only clean eggs should be placed in the incubator, and then activity of collecting eggs should be done at least 3 to 4 times daily. Okay, especially kung dagan ka og manok ka, dagan kag manok ang mangitlog, you can perform this 3 to 4 times daily. And this is not just for hatching eggs activity. This is also applied in layer farms. Collection of eggs should be at least 3 to 4 times daily. Para really avoid eggs, to avoid dirty eggs. So do not wash dirty eggs. Like imong ihulom sa tubig. No. You can remove, you can do washing, just like having a damp cloth, Yeah, do not press the egg or do not really wash with kind of very wet na cloth, because that will remove the egg's protective coating. And then once this egg's protective coating is removed, then it exposes to the entry of disease organisms. So high risk of contamination. So that protective coating is termed as cuticle or bloom. So like for example, kabantay mo na ay itlog namay itlog namay manok na nangitlog. Ikita ninyo bago pang tag ang egg. Basa-basa pa ang egg. So that's the protective coating. Mo na siya ang bloom or cuticle. Once imo na siyang hugasan, mo na nga ang egg, dili siya ma-store for a longer period or di siya magamit na to for incubation kay in a matter of days mabaho man na siya. Sulayin na ninyo, eksperimentuhin na ninyo. So washing and rubbing action also force disease organisms through the pores of the shell. So you need to be careful in handling the hatching eggs. Now, in terms of DAP, sir, ang DAP is hugaw man na ang egg. What to do man, sir? Dili na namong hugasan nga ang yahang eggs kay pertimang kuana daghan maglapo. So you need to consider sa quality sa egg sa duck na thick shelled siya, no? So you can, carefully, remove the dirt, but do not really wash the eggs with water. Okay? Ang uban nag-practice is nagbutang sila og 1 liter na water and then 3 drops of chlorine. Okay, disinfectant man, 'di ba? Naghisgot ta ganinaw in sa setup or flow sa hatchery farm na fumigation, na area wherein to disinfect the eggs. So still, mo na siya kung mga arito sa ginagmay, you can perform that one. Ang ilang gamiton, mag 1 liter sila tubig, 3 drops of chlorine. Mo na ilang ibutang sa damp cloth. Ang chlorine is gamit siya pang disinfect. Pero dili ingon nga basa kayo ang cloth, no? Damp lang siya. Na igo ra makakuha sa lapo. So, now, your characteristics, parang exactly given importance, because even though the egg is having a poor yolk color, still it can be hatched. No? Like for example, in quails, the yolk color ranges from 1 to 4. So 1 is very pale. So that pale color or poorest color is not a guarantee nga ang imuhang eggs dili mapiso or mapiso. So still, even though it is said that the lightest color had the poorest hatchability, but there are studies na prove na lightest color still have the chance, especially when fertile. So average yolk to albumin ratio should be 1:2, no? And don't incubate double or triple yolks. So multiple or double yolks, no, dili na siya nato incubate because dili man na siya ma-develop. Dili man ma-develop ang iyang embryo. It is a product of, ang double yolk, possibly out from stress, possibly out from miscommunication of the regions of the reproductive system, no, mga alterations. And then besides, with those reasons, ang double yolk or triple yolk, dito na siya ma-develop because they are sharing one shell, and then kung makuha na sila, mag-develop na sila, mahuot siya, no? And then dili gid siya na fully developed. Well, there is a chance na ma-fertile siya, both yolk are fertile, but in the long run, di ka mag-expect na maabot na siya until like 21 days na hatch. Based on my experience sa quail na ako yung mga double yolk na ako git-try o set sa incubator, but akong after how many days? After 7 days, 14 days, and even pag paabot na sa hatching, akong gikuan, why na develop na egg? Na mura lang siya nalusaw ang katong na double yolk. Mailan man ako kung double yolk because moabot naman ang timbang sa 15 to 18 grams or even 24 grams ang itlog sa pugo. Mura lagi itlog na sa manok kadak ang kanang bagong Bisaya nga nagitlog. Well, anyway, so you have to remember this one, no? So how to handle eggs? So handle eggs carefully, avoid rough handling as they may cause low hatchability. Store eggs in a dry, airy, cool place. If hatching eggs are kept in trays, so if hatching eggs are kept in trays, the blunt area or gitawag nato o ang iyahang butt should be up. No? The blunt end should be up because dito man ang iyahang air sac. If kept beyond 5 days, at 55 degrees Fahrenheit, the egg should be turned every day thereafter. If eggs are placed on their sides, they do not need turning within 1 week. So, like for example, nakay hatching egg, ang pinakadugay nga pag-store sa hatching egg is 1 week. No? Beyond 1 week, ang hatchability rate anak maba na kaayo. Like may fertile man tuod ang eggs pero ang development ana maba na kaayo ang chance. So sayang lang. So based on experience, no, based on kanang mga testimonies sa mga farmers, ang best ko nung age sa eggs nga dapat i-incubate is 1 to 4 days. Taas kayo og return. And which I have practiced ako ang pugo diri sa department. Out, 200 eggs ang akong giset. Kailoy sa Ginoo nakapupusa ko 100 or 180 ba to? 180 ka chicks ang abot. So that period na 1 to 4 days. Kaya akong practice is mag-set ko og egg sa quails 10 days. Pwede pa na ko i-set kaya ako gisalayan man siya. So like I am experimenting. So taas kayo og kanang loss. Like out of 200 nakapapusa lang ko og 60 o 50 lang man to. 50 ra to kabuok anugon kayo ako ang time. And then with that 50 di malas pa jud kaayo kay 20 ra kabuok ang bayay mas daghan ang laki. So taas ko time nga nawala, no? Ang action period na gitarget wa nako naabot. So that's it. So storing of eggs, no, should be at least pinakadugay 7 days or 5 days. It's just daw nga ang imuhang eggs ipa-incubate nimo 4 days. Sir, how about that? Sir, sa native chicken sir, ang ilahang eggs kay moabot pa man og 15, no? So meaning to say 15 days pud ang eggs ana sir. Kuan man sir, ang itlog kay usara man sa usa ka adlaw. So yes, 15 days, but you have to remember nga ang eggs na gilay sa native na-contact ang native hen sa iyahang eggs every day. So meaning to say painitan niya ang egg within a period kung magmuloob siya og mangitlog. Okay? So with that 15 days period, still nagyapon ta gitawag og fertility rate, hatchability rate ana nga taas. Pero di mo lapas og 70%. Naranay siya sa 60 to 70%. So, muna siya. So, don't keep hatching eggs in cold storage, like in refrigeration temperature or lower. Too low temperature decreases hatchability at 3rd day. The ideal temperature at which hatching eggs should be kept is 55 degrees Fahrenheit. I have read a study from De La Salle University sa ito ng campus nila in 1980 man guro to nga study gi-post sa page ba. Ang iyang study is egg storage. So nag-store siya og eggs in a normal temperature and then nag-store siya under refrigeration. So under normal temperature, ang eggs na iyang gigamit, ang hatchability rate at 10 days is comparable to that of the eggs mentalito nagibutang sa cold storage up to 3 days. Pag add up to 5 days na, wala na. Maba na kaayo or hapit na wala rin na piso. So you need to consider the requirement of temperature. So I can share that sa group kung makita ito na kaubali ang katong study. So avoid storing eggs near odorous substances such as kerosene, gasoline, onion, as they absorb these odors readily and become spoiled. So avoid those substances na odorous substances na maduol sa inyong eggs. So don't keep eggs longer than 7 days. As I have said, longer storage decreases hatchability. A study conducted in the College of Agriculture at UP Los Baños showed that eggs held under ordinary room temperature for 2 weeks, only 2.7% hatch. And those held in refrigerator, at 8 to 12 degrees Celsius, about 5.8% hatch. So mas taas ang nasa refrigerator. But you have to determine pila value aning 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So ang iyang parameter is, or ang iyang measure is degrees Celsius. So there's this difference, no? So about 5.8% hatch. Eggs held for 4 weeks in a refrigerator hatched only 4%. So maybe this study did not go lower than this 55 degrees Fahrenheit because the hatchability is still good. Unlike for those eggs setted or stored in a room temperature for 2 weeks, which is a lower hatching percentage or hatchability rate. So in a normal situation, or kita, when we do incubation, do not keep eggs longer than 7 days. If wala tayong mga specific treatments. No? So now, in natural incubation, again, 10 to 12 eggs under one hen, depending on the size, as the body temperature is Celsius. So not this katong ingon nga bantam ang imong nanay or ang inahin na dagko kayo ng eggs. So just make sure no mites or lice infestation. It is very important to check your nests, nest box ninyo when you do or when you are having natural incubation, because this mite and lice infestation may trigger the hens not to continue not to continue sitting the eggs, because these blood-sucking parasites are very invasive. They are parasites that consume blood, blood-sucking na gani. So they consume blood, and then ang atubiyang hen during the period kung magluob na sila, when they are sitting the eggs, wa sila kayo kaon-kaon. So there is this competition. There is this competition of nutrients sa iyang body. So, mahimo siyang anemic or pale. And then, if di na niya magwanta ang iyang, situation sa inside the nest, then the hen will not continue sitting the egg. So, failure. So, before the laying season of your flock, kindly check the nest box, the nesting area, if it is free from mite or lice infestation, because these external parasites are, killing the convenience of the hen, and not just the hen ang affected, hasta ang mga tao, especially kung ay mga mites, bunho, kauban sa tungaw. So your nest should be clean and dry and a parasite-free nest. So broodiness is the hen's instinct to sit on the egg for incubation and hatching. So a broody hen sits its egg. Muna gitawag na to og instinct, sa ato ang mga natural instinct sa ato ang mga hens, especially dual purpose chicken, no? The meat type chicken are good sitters. Unlike layer strains or layer breeds, layer types or those egg types are poor sitters. So incubation through ball. So totoong isip ng ganina, eggs clear, no blood rings or embryo. Clear with blood ring and development, mga situation nga sugatan nato during incubation, and these are the probable cause of these problems. Dead germ, embryos dying 12 to 18 days, and chicks fully formed dying without peeping. So, like for example, namatay, lagi pa during sa canding nato, buhi ang embryo na develop, but pag abot na sa hatching time, wala na na-develop. So, probable cause of this problem is wrong incubator temperature, lack ventilation, incorrect turning, and somehow the heredity or genetics. Dead in shell, so on, so forth. So, abnormal chick shell thickening, sticky chicks, rough navels, small chicks. I'll be providing all this information, no? Hatagan ta mo ani. So, malformed chicks, so you have to study this one. These are very self-explanatory. So, let me highlight this one, the chick embryo development. So, at day 1, no, the appearance of tissue development. So, it is not the whole yolk man, di ba? People, are you still with me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, at day 1, no, kung makuha na ang egg, makita na nimo imong bukon na siya ang iyang dust to disc, ang iyang germinal disc, no, evident kaayo. At day 2, tissue development very visible, and there is this the blood vessels. At day 3, the heart beats. So now the blood vessels are very visible. At day 4, eye pigmented or nagsugod na develop ang iyong eyes. Then and so on and so forth. You have to study this and familiarize the stages of the embryonic development. So at 21 days, the yolk sac grown completely into the body, and then embryo becomes a chick, so breathing in air cell, and then that will start to peep. Like, kay ang kaning kuan mo na siya nasa yung abdomen, mo na iyang navel, no? Wala na fully consumed, or wala na fully drown ang iyahang yolk sac. So mo na open, and then once ang imong chicks daghan og unhealed navels, so it is prone to infection. Those chicks with that problem will not, last long. Dali na siya mamatay. In matter of days, sudlo na siya mga infection. And there are so many infections na pwede na ito ma-relate. So study this egg embryonic development. So I have here a video. So, nag-play ba? Nag-play, people?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the embryonic development. Okay, that is the germinal disc, or the embryo start to develop. Claro ra, people? Guys, claro ra?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so no, that's the period, no, of embryonic development. So you have to familiarize the different stages from day 1 to day 21. So candling. So I'll be talking about now candling. Candling is a way of checking the fertility of an egg and the development of the embryo with the use of a light source in a darkened room. So sa una, when you are performing performing candling activities sa inyong 22, cellphone ang gamiton, may pa ana-ana sa light, an egg, no? So in hatcheries, candling activity is very important. No, it is performed in a dark room in order to really monitor the development of embryo, no, para iwas losses. And then now, importance of candling, as I have mentioned, it is to remove the infertile eggs or the clears, remove the dead embryo on 7th day. No, not really on the 7th day ang mga dead embryo, because it is the going to remove those infertile eggs kaya may na-develop. At na ta mag-remove of dead embryo sa 14th day. So natural fertility is rarely 100%. It may vary from 55% to 95% with season, condition, and type of birds. So it is not really 100% ang fertility sa imuhang eggs. So you must consider that one. So next, the embryo is located at the large end of the egg where blood vessels will be present under the surface. So the embryo appears as dark spot which becomes larger as the incubation period continues. So kung namatay at 7th day na develop, but pag 14th day wala na develop siya, maghimo na siya og blood ring. No, na siya spot sa kilid sa egg, na makita dito nga na namatay na to ang iyang developing embryo. Wala na siya ni continue. So eggs appears to have black spot as the embryo grows, which as the embryo grows and incubation continues will grow larger until light will pass through the air cell of the egg. So infertile eggs appears clear. So mo na siya ang steps, no? Sa katulad na sa egg development, makita na to ang iyang air cell at day 1, like mintag gamay pa siya, day 7 nagkadako na until padulong na siya ma-hatch, mo na mag-pit na siya. Yung day 19th mo na nagkadako lang sa air cell because faster naman ang iyang gitawag na to og breathing. So infertile eggs as it appears during candling. Okay, this is a fertile egg, no? Fertile egg at 7th day. Kung na makita na to ang iyang embryo, no? Ang iyang blood vessels, makita na. Okay? So here, yung sa kadiyata kay nakituyo sa amo ang caretaker for a while, 2 minutes. So, okay ba ta? Okay ba mo? At ato na lang humanon ang alas 3. Hapit tampon ni mahuman. So, this is the photo of an egg under a candler, over a candler at day 7. So, diha nakita na to na form na blood vessels. Then, continue ang iyang development. And then, once, an egg is, na dayon o ka-develop, or what should you na-develop, this is an example of a non-viable egg, meaning dili siya na di na magamit for hatching. So the air sac is still, may ang iyang size, and then there is a development or a developed blood ring. So ang ato ang eggs or ang ato ang egg or ang embryo inside that egg is already dead. And then it is their lack of healthy blood vessels. So use this formula, no? Kindly take note of this formula. Katong gipanghisgatan ganina. Number of fertile eggs over number of egg set times 100. And then hatchability rate, number of chicks hatched over the number of fertile eggs times 100. So, mana siya ang gamiton ng mga formula. Ito kung iisutan kanina, itong 997, nahimo na lang 87, and then nahimo na lang po siyang 70. So, that's it. So, this last presentation about candling.
Improvements in technology have
Madong gra, makita?
In nature, bird lays an egg in the same
Guys?
nest that will hatch into a young bird. In the poultry
Hey.
industry, we try to mimic the same idea.
Yes, sir.
Under highly regulated conditions, fertilized chicken egg will be transformed from what we recognize as yolk and egg white into a living, breathing bird. Did you know that not all poultry are the same? In our industry, we focus on 3 types of chickens and 2 types of turkeys. Commercial broiler breeder parent stock produce offspring that will become broilers. Broilers are birds that will be used for chicken meat. Laying hens, however, are birds that lay table eggs, or the eggs we eat. The turkey industry involves turkey breeders, which are the parents of commercial turkeys, and commercial turkeys that are used for turkey meat. Just as not all poultry are the same, neither are all eggs. Only eggs that are fertilized hatch into a chick, although a hen will lay an egg even though it may not have been fertilized. So where do all these birds begin their journey? It happens behind the scenes at a hatchery. Let's take an inside view of the amazing transformation that goes on inside this facility. Eggs that arrive at the hatchery come from breeder farms. Breeders, remember, are the parents of either chickens or turkeys that will be used for meat products or hens that will lay table eggs. Eggs are delivered to the hatchery by specially designed trucks that control the thermal environment to ensure the survival of the embryo inside the egg. These eggs will develop and grow into either a chick, which is a young chicken, or a poult, which is a young turkey, depending on which type of breeder farm they come from. Turkeys are a favorite pet, so we will focus on chickens in this video. Eggs are the unit of life for the developing embryo. Can you see that white spot in the yolk of this egg? This spot is called the germinal disc. If mating has occurred, this is where the sperm fertilizes the egg inside the hen. It is also where the embryo will begin to form. This takes place about 24 hours before the egg is laid. The embryo starts to grow in the become reproductive tract even before a shell is added. Did you ever wonder why an egg has so many parts? The structures in an egg are vital to the survival of the embryo and ultimately a healthy chick. The yolk provides the embryo nutrients and water. The albumin, or egg white, not only protects the embryo from damage and bacterial infection, but also provides it with a source of protein. The chalizae are twisted, string-like structures that stabilize the yolk in the center of the egg to prevent it from coming in contact with the inside shell wall. If this happens, the embryo can dry out and die. The shell and shell membranes protect the embryo in the correct position. They allow for gas exchange between the outside and inside oxygen for the embryo. The egg also has an air cell. It is penetrated by the chick's beak during hatching and provides it with its first breath of air. Eggs are placed on trays with the large end up so the air cell is at the top of the egg to ensure proper hatching is also created equal. It is important that only the highest quality fertile eggs are selected for incubation. The hatchery wants hatching eggs that are clean, have only one yolk, and are free of cracks and shell defects. In Canada, eggs should weigh a minimum of 52 grams to be put in the incubator. The incubation process is putting eggs in a controlled environment to allow the embryo to develop properly. Smaller eggs are not set in the incubator, nor large eggs. Very large eggs have yolks and are said to be double yolked. Double yolked eggs will not fit in the incubator trays. If double yolked eggs are set in the incubator, rarely will one chick hatch and never will two chicks hatch. Hens occasionally lay eggs with flat sides, thin shells, or other deformities. Eggs may become stained, cracked, or soiled on the farm. These eggs are also not set in the incubator, since they may not hatch, or they may contaminate other chicks when they do hatch. Breeder producers provide nest boxes for the hens to lay their eggs in a clean environment, but sometimes they will lay eggs on the floor. Been laid on the floor at the breeder farm. Becomes their office by urging the hens to lay eggs in nest boxes, which are cleaner and make egg collection easier. At breeding, it's relied on to keep the air cell in the right location for proper hatching. At the hatchery, eggs are mediated from shipping area to storage. Stored in temperature and controlled storage until it is time to put them in the incubator. They are kept between 16 feet. The eggs are kept cool to stop the embryo from developing to make sure all the chicks hatch at the same time. Wild birds will purposely avoid sitting on eggs until a certain number have been laid, so that the chicks will hatch at the same time. Eggs are moved onto the incubation trolleys. For long-term storage, eggs are turned on the trolleys to maintain albumin quality. Eggs are put in incubators, which provide the optimal environment for the embryo to develop the egg. Incubators are kept at a temperature of 38 degrees Celsius. The warm air in the incubator starts the embryo's growth again. The egg takes 18 days in this machine, providing the embryo to develop into a chick. Conditions are cut and incubate to mimic conditions of nature. Some incubators only house eggs at the same age. The environment can be specific to the period of growth the chicks are in. This is called single-stage incubation. Other incubators have eggs of different ages. In multi-stage incubation, older eggs are taken out after 18 days when they are finished growing, and younger eggs are put in the other end of the incubator to replace the ones taken out. Older eggs support the development of the young ones by giving off heat. This is how the eggs move through the multi-stage incubator. This is a candled egg that is ready to go into the incubator. Candling an egg involves shining a light through it to see what is inside. Notice how there is little to see. This egg has been in the incubator for 18 days and is ready to be taken out. The chick will hatch in approximately 3 days. See how the light doesn't shine through where the chick is? The environment in the incubators is key to making sure all the embryos are ready to hatch when they are removed. Eggs are turned every hour or so to make sure the embryo doesn't contact the eggshell, which can lead to dehydration and other problems.
So that's the situation. That's the situation of a farm that manages types of poultry species, and then ma-proceed na nga to sa pag-select, and then maabot na sa hatchery. And as I have said earlier na like incubator and then separate ang hatcher. Mao to nga multi-stage, no? Single stage and multi-stage. In a single stage incubator, you really need to have a all in all out. In a multi-stage, you can do, there is this movement man, di ba? So it's okay to set eggs differently or with different batches. So this is the last one before I will send the attendance.
In nature, the mother will change the egg's position many times a day. This behavior is part of natural mothering or brooding behavior called. The embryo develops rapidly inside the egg once incubation begins. After 12 to 13 hours, the primitive streak appears. This is the embryo as it first begins to grow. After 21 to 24 hours, the notochord begins to form, which will become the chick's spine. After 4 days, the allantois is visible. This structure is needed as a place for waste material to collect. Also at this time, the blood supply to the yolk sac is developing, needed for circulating oxygen. The embryo becomes surrounded by the amniotic sac, which protects the embryo. Eggs are taken out of the incubator after 18 days so they can be transferred into hatching trays, placed in the hatchery. Remember, the incubator and hatcher are different chambers with different environments. The incubator trays are removed from the trolley and the machine. They have a tray and light, and the garage identifies those eggs as fertile by measuring how much light passes through the egg. The amount of light passes through them are infertile. These eggs are discarded. Room hatching tray for chicks to hatch. Next, the remaining eggs are lifted and placed into a hatching tray. Soiled eggs can harbor bacteria. Enter into the shell when the eggs cool. These microbes give off gas, so pressure inside the shell increases. Under the right conditions, these eggs mix
Old in a layer operation, the male chicks are really, considered as rejects. So as rejects na siya ang kuan ang male chicks at day old. So diri man pud good nag-start ang broiler production based in history. The broiler production starts out from this so-called layer production. Nag-una jud ang layer or egg production or layer operation compared sa broiler operation because out from this hen chickens no sa layer operation ang mga bayra ang mapuslan, so ang mga laki they consume as meat source, but as the time goes by no within the period naka-realize na ang mga raisers na doon na jud ay specific breeds or other strains that is if ayos siya compared sa mga gitawag na to og reject na mga chicks out from this layer operations. So in breeder operation, good management requires that the male and the female are reared separately. So in a breeder farm, when you are the one that produces the breeding stocks of other farms, then you need to really have a good practice of sexing your stocks. So in a breeder operation, day-old sexing is also practiced. So you need to consider that when you are managing breeders, so male and female has these distinct characteristics. So considering those characteristics will give you a good plan, no? Because you will managing them efficiently. So in commercial layer operation, only females are considered for keeping. Hence, it is important that they are identified through sexing as early as possible. So, way gamit ang mga laki nga chicken in terms for layer operations. But for breeder operation, no, the purpose of day-old sexing is to separate the male and female in order to implement good management practices, especially sa feeding, no, and other requirements. So vent sexing, no, this is also a method of identifying the sex of your poultry animals. So the rudimentary mating organ of a male chick is described as round, full, and lustrous, while the female is flat, small, and soft. So most of the highly trained individuals employed in hatcheries can sex chicks with 98% accuracy using this method. So with a rate of 1,000 chicks per hour. So Manisha, ang example, when you do vent sexing, okay, I will be giving you the most common type of female organ being found in 30 out of 100 average chicks. So, compare niya sa mga bayi. So, vent sex niya. So, type 2 females are often pinpoint variety. Type 3 females are very similar to type 2 with and are often the pinpoint variety. And type 4 females are at least common, are the least common rather, appearing only twice in 100 average chicks. So you have to clearly differentiate the form of their organs. For males, this is the commonest type of organ found in males, found in 39 out of 100 chicks. And this type is very rare also in males, and that can appear 2 times in average of 100 chicks examined. For type 3, males are few, now being found only 2 times, and 100 average chicks, while type 4 are rare, appearing only once in 200 average chicks. So you have to familiarize this types of organs sa ato ang day-old chicks if you are going to do vent sexing. Type 5 easily recognized and appears on an average twice in average 100 chicks. Type 6 males are rare indeed, being found only 5 cases in 1,000 average chicks. So machine sexing, the day-old chicks can be sexed by using a machine. It is a device invented in Japan way back 1960, where the anus of the chick, it is inserted in the anus of the chick, passing through the rectal wall to observe the presence of. So compared to vent sexing, only 400 to 500 per hour can be sexed because it is difficult. So, you are inserting a part of the machine, like a tube or a valve to the chicks, no? So if you are not a well-trained technician, so it's hard for you to perform this method. So compared to vent sexing, that per hour, a well-trained technician with at least 98% accuracy, no, at 1,000 chicks per hour, no. So feather sexing, okay, this is very common. Based on the sex-linked inheritance using feather or color growth of the feathers. In male chicks, the coverts are long or as longer than the primaries, while the female chicks have coverts that are always shorter than the primaries. So I have here photos that will show you how to perform feather sexing. So fast feathering, so female chick. Site, no? The primaries and the covert. So mas tag-as ang iyang primaries compare sa iyang coverts. So coverts are shorter than primaries and coverts are thin and primaries are thick. So slow feathering for male chicks. Coverts and primaries are short and same height. Coverts and primaries are having same thickness. Okay, so super slow feathering for male chicks. So coverts are long than primary coverts, and coverts and primaries are having the same thickness. Ang imong pagtanaw, mas taas ang coverts compared sa iyang primary feathers. So ikaw, you have to determine asa man ang primary feathers and asa ang covered. So, kung imo i-feel, the thickness of the coverts and primaries are just the same. So, color sexing, example, sexing a highline brown. So, buffy red color. So, red around base of the beak and around eyes. And then 2 or 4 stripes on the back. So, the male and the female, asa mo kaya ani nila? So, males, okay, males are generally white, yellow. Females, no, females are having a buffy red color and other varieties of color. So while males are generally yellow or white and may have round red spot on head and neck, and then may have 1 red stripe on back, compared to the female that are having 2 or 4 red stripe on its back. So, depende po na siya, like sa quails. Na usa ka breed sa quails na easily ilhan na to at day old ang iyahang sex. No? So, with this also, sa highline brown. So, makita na natin, spot the difference. So, hatchery sanitation is very important. No? It is self-explanatory, wherein the implementation of good sanitation and hygiene and also the strict biosecurity measures. It is very important to guard your farm, especially in the hatchery, because eggs are so sensitive. So you have to protect them from microbial contamination, starting from the farm level until or up to grading of eggs before setting into the incubator rather. So that is why when the eggs arrive in the hatchery farms, or yes, in the hatchery, the first activity is to fumigate the eggs. So that ends the presentation